There is a principle at work in the best composting systems that goes deeper than technique or ingredient, a principle about cycles, about return, about the design built into the relationship between what a household produces as waste and what the garden requires as fertility. The Victorians who maintained the most productive kitchen gardens in English history understood this principle not as philosophy but as practical daily reality. The kitchen produced organic waste. The garden required organic fertility. The compost pile was the bridge between them. And the bridge needed to be fast, not because they were impatient, but because the fertility cycle that fed the household depended on it operating at full speed, not the slow, fitful pace that most modern composters have come to accept as the natural rate of things. 7 days. That is the finished compost timeline that the most skilled Victorian kitchen gardeners achieved through the management system they developed across generations of practical observation. Not 7 months. Not the 3 to 6 month standard that modern composting education presents as the expected outcome for home-scale systems. 7 days of actively managed biological decomposition that transformed daily kitchen waste into dark, crumbly, biologically rich finished compost ready to return to the beds that needed it. The reason this seems implausible to most modern gardeners is not that the biology is exaggerated. The biology is real and well documented. The reason it seems implausible is that the bottleneck preventing most home piles from achieving it has never been clearly explained, so most gardeners attribute slow composting to the nature of composting itself rather than to a specific, correctable management failure that is entirely within their control. That bottleneck is the microbial population density at the moment raw inputs arrive at the pile. Decomposition proceeds at the rate determined by the size and metabolic activity of the decomposer population present in the pile. A pile receiving raw kitchen waste begins processing from near zero microbial density, spending days or weeks building the population to the level where their collective metabolic activity becomes significant, heating the pile, visibly shrinking the volume, producing the earthy smell of active decomposition. During that establishment period, the pile appears to do nothing. Most gardeners interpret this as composting being slow. What is actually happening is that the workforce needed for fast decomposition is still being recruited. The Victorian pre-processing solution to this bottleneck was fermentation of kitchen waste before it reached the main pile. Fermentation is a faster initial biological process than aerobic decomposition, requiring different organisms and producing partially transformed material, cell walls compromised, complex polymers partially converted, organic acids produced, that the compost pile's aerobic population can begin processing immediately without the establishment delay. The pre-fermented material does not arrive at zero in the decomposition sequence. It arrives already transformed, already partially processed, already presenting its organic content in simplified forms that the pile can finish rapidly. All seasons. Bokashi Compost Starter by SCD Probiotics is the modern tool that makes this pre-processing available to any home gardener with a kitchen countertop and a compost pile, and the link is in the description. The dry Bokashi brand contains a community of effective microorganisms, lactic acid bacteria, yeasts, and phototrophic bacteria that ferment kitchen food waste including meat, dairy, and cooked food in a sealed container with low odor. The fermented material delivered to your outdoor pile gives its decomposer population preprocessed inputs rather than raw ones, and the 7-day timeline that seemed implausible becomes the predictable outcome of a system working the way the fertility cycle was always designed to work. There is something right about closing the loop quickly, about the waste from the table returning to the garden in days rather than months, the fertility cycle completing its revolution at the speed the design intended rather than the slow, incomplete rotation that modern composting often produces. Every household that produces organic waste and maintains a garden is sitting at the center of one of the most elegant biological systems ever designed. The speed at which that system operates is entirely within the control of the person managing the bridge between kitchen and bed. 7 days is not an exaggeration. It is a restoration. Subscribe to In the Beginning and check the description for all product links. See you in the next one.